What's up, everyone? Today I bring a deck profile on my Mayakashis, or I guess technically it's more of a Myakashi Eldlich sort of build. And without further ado, let's get right into it. First up, we got the 3 Hajun, the winged Mayakashi. Hajun, if it's normal or special zone, you can special zone one Mayakashi monster from your deck except Hajun, which is it's definitely one of your main starters because basically this gets you into your Mayakashi Link monsters, which then makes the new trap, which is really good. And you'll use one of your 2 copies of Daki or Yuki Musume. Daki's really cool. You definitely want to run at least 2. You can maybe run more, but Daki, whenever you link or synchro summon into a Mayakashi monster from the extra deck. Yeah, when a Mayakashi monster is special summoned from the extra deck, you can special summon this from the grave, and that is on once per turn. So the cool thing is you can basically go into your link 2 Mayakashi, summon Daki. Go into the link 3, summon Daki. Go into the link 4, summon Daki. And it allows you to just link time very easily in this deck, and that's definitely really good. It can definitely help you with getting into the link 4, which is the best Mayakashi, as well as helping to close out games. Then we also got Yuki Musume. Musume, if you control a Mayakashi card other than Yuki Musume, you can special summon this card from either your hand or your graveyard. Then send one zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. That's definitely really good because you can send your Daki, which will allow you to basically sort of link climb. But you can also use it for one of your 2 Eldlich, the Golden Land. Or not Golden Land, Golden Lord. Eldlich is definitely really cool, and well, there's definitely several variants you could actually play with Mayakashi. And whether you want to go Eldlich or maybe like more of a kind of pure zombie route using like the Doom King Barbaroach and Zombie World, that is also an option. But this one also gives you a lot of stuff you can definitely use, like especially in the traps. Not to mention the Eldlich allows you to kind of like help control your opponents a little bit more in case you don't open the Masterful Shiranui Saga, which is the new trap. Because there are going to be hands to where you don't have an option to go into that. If you don't open any copies of Mayakashi Return or Prosperity or any way to really get to that, because none of these monsters search it, which is unfortunate. And there are hands to where you're not going to have it. So at least if we have the Eldlich route, we definitely have some backup. Moving on to the spells, I run 3 Mayakashi Return. Mayakashi Return, just add a Mayakashi card from deck to hand, except Return. You can either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So you can add a Hajin, get a Foolish Tadaki, or grab the Masterful Saga. Also run 1 Myakashi Winter. Myakashi Winter is pretty good in like certain situations. Like there are going to be scenarios where it's not really the most card you're going to want to have, but essentially you can use one of the following effects of Myakashi Winters. The first one is you can send this card and one Mayakashi monster you control to the graveyard to draw 1 card, or banish this card and one zombie monster from your graveyard, then target a Mayakashi monster to your graveyard to special summon it. So basically you can either draw 1 or Monster Reborn 1, but you gotta banish this card and a Mayakashi and a zombie monster from your graveyard. Sometimes you're definitely that's gonna be pretty useful, but that's kind of more situational. Next, I run 3 Cursed Eldland. This is your searcher for the Eldlich. You can either pay 100 life points to add 1 Eldlich monster or 1 Golden Lord spell trap. Or actually, no, you can use both these effects. The secondary effect is you can send this card from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard. Then send 1 Eldlich monster Golden Land spell trap from your deck to the graveyard. So you can search and foolish. Next, I run the 1 Elixir of Black Awakening. Now, the cool thing with the Elixir cards, it says special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand or deck. Now, if you don't control an Eldlich, that's all you can summon. But if you have an Eldlich on the field, then you can use it to summon any of your Mayakashis as well, because they are all zombies, which is definitely really cool. So it's like another plus to running the Eldlich engine. You can get Eldlich to the field, then basically you can use the Elixir cards to start going into your Mayakashi plays. Also run the 1 or 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Considering the main card you want to see is the Masterful Saga, which basically skips your opponent's turn. Definitely want to see that, and to be honest, our extra deck, it does matter, but only a few cards really matter. Outside of the Myakashi Link monsters, you don't really care too much about the rest. Then again, you don't want to go banish crazy on it because you do use your extra deck somewhat. And I also run the one for one because Yuki Musume and Hajin are both level 1s, and Hajin activates when it's normal or special summon, so 1 for 1 can basically just get you into a, depending on if you have a Daki already in the graveyard or on the field, basically a free link 4. Moving on to traps, I run 3 Ghost Meets Girl, a Masterful Mayakashi Shiranui Saga. This card is really good. You can trigger 1 Mayakashi or Shiranui Synchro or Link monster. Another player can special summon monsters from the hand, deck, or extra deck for the rest of this turn. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished zombie monsters, return to the graveyard. So basically, if you go into one of your Mayakashi Link monsters, or Synchro monsters, you usually go for the links, you can almost nearly skip your opponent's turn. Considering without them being able to special summon from the hand, deck, or extra deck, yes, they still do have the grave, but without the extra deck, then summoning from the grave is not really going to be as useful. Maybe they could put a body or 2 on the field, but that's really going to be about it. And with Doc, you can just link climb into an access code and finish your opponent off. Next, I run 3 Trap Trick. I mainly run it for the Masterful Saga, but there are other cards you can use this with, much like the Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine. Sanguine is basically like the other Elixir. Special summon a zombie monster from your hand or deck, but if you don't control an Eldlich monster, you can only special summon Eldlich monsters. If you have an Eldlich monster, it's any zombie. But this has an extra effect when it's in the graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard to set 1 golden land spell trap directly from your deck. In which I run 3 Conquistador and 3 Hakuero. The Conquistador and Hakuero are basically traps that summon themselves as monsters and can disrupt your opponent. So if they are summoned, well, at least for Conquistador, when Conquistador is summoned and you control an Eldritch the Golden Lord, you can destroy 1 card on the field, and Hakuero can banish 1 card on the field, or banish 1 card from either graveyard. So essentially, you got like a called by and a pop. Not to mention during the end phase, you can banish them from the graveyard to set an Elixir spell trap directly from the deck. Next, I run 3 Skill Drain. While yes, this can conflict kind of somewhat if you're obviously can't really go for access code or Mayakashis as much if you have Skill Drain up, but it's worth it more than not running it, just because it hurts your opponent a whole lot more than it hurts you. Even if you shut off your Mayakashi engine, you still have the Eldritch engine that you can rely on. So essentially, the reason why I combine the 2 is that basically you can get the best of both, and if you have to shut one off, then the other will essentially carry it through. And you can still basically OTK, well, not really OTK, but you can still close out games very easily because the Absolute Zero Myakashi you can make pretty easy because Daki activates in the grave, which does not affect skill drain, so you can literally just keep link climbing into that. So you just use that instead of access code. I also run 3 Rivalry of the Warlord. I only run zombies, so it doesn't really hurt you too much. Although, like, same with skill drain. It will prevent you from closing games out with access code talker, which, as I said, with skill drain, doesn't really hurt you too much because you can still kind of control the game with your other link monsters, which will perfectly work under skill drain and rivalry. And also run 2 summon limits. You don't really summon a whole lot unless, like the rest of this, you're trying to go for game. But then again, with everything else you got, you can just kind of control the game to where you can just slowly basically kill your opponent rather than just the 1 shot of access code. Moving on to the extra deck, I got 3 Yuki-Onna, the Ice Mayakashi. This requires 2 Mayakashi monsters, and to be honest, the effect of this really doesn't matter too much. You mainly want it just because it is a link to Myakashi monster, which you can use with the Shiranui Saga. And it's fairly easy to go into. While it does require you to have like 2 Mayakashis, those are pretty easy to get out. Meanwhile, the Link 3 is kind of easier to get out. But Yuki-Onna, the Ice Mayakashi, you can only control 1 of them when this card points to a synchro monster. Your opponent's monster cannot target that card for attacks. And if a synchro monster in your possession is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, while this card is on the field, you can target one face-up monster on the field. Its attacking defense becomes half its current attacking defense. So the effect rarely comes up. It's more or less a card you just want in name. Also run 2 Yuki-Onna, the Icicle Mayakashi. If this card is special summoned, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects. And quick effect, you banish this card from the graveyard to special summon one of your zombie synchro monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. So definitely a lot better than the Ice Myakashi. And the cool thing with the Icicle Mayakashi is it only requires 2 zombie monsters. Or 2+ zombie monsters. So you can use the Aquero, Conquistador, and Eldlich for it as well. So even if you were to completely cut out the Mayakashis, you can still run Masterful Saga in this, which is definitely a pretty cool thing as well. Also run 2 Yuki-Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. Like the Icicle Mayakashi, it requires 2+ zombies monsters, so you don't need the Mayakashis for it. You can only control one of it, and you can any activate effects every opponent's banished monsters, and if a monster is spell summoned from the graveyard or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, tier elements, you can target one other face-up monster to the field, change its attack to 0, and if you do, negate its effects. And the cool thing is that it's permanent. It's not until the end of the turn. It just negates the effects. So it will stick around. And the cool thing is you can use this effect twice per turn. So it's not a once per turn. It's a twice per turn. So definitely a very powerful card. Definitely a card you want to end on. Also run the 1 Link Spider, more or less just for Aquero and Conquistador, in case I want to go into like Access Code or something. Now I can change that, considering it's not an effect monster, basically into an effect monster. Of course, I also run the 1 Access Code Talker. I run 1 Oboro Guima, 1 Tengu, and 1 Yoko. The Synchros, to be honest, in all my playtesting, they didn't come up a whole lot. Most of the times they just got banished off the Pot of Prosperity because their effects in a more pure form are definitely a lot better. But considering I'm running more of an Eldlich build, which doesn't really summon a whole lot, the Synchros don't really do as much. But they can still come up from time to time. Also run the 2 Super Dreadnought Roll Cannon Gustav Max. I run 2 Eldlich. Why not? 2 Eldlich, burn for 2k. As well as a Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libe. So definitely, even if we can't go into Access Code Talker, we still got a monster with 4,000 attack to just beat over almost anything. And if you can't activate its effects, it can go up to 6,000. That's it from my Mayakashi deck profile. Let me know what do you think about it. Eldlich Mayakashi. Think it's pretty cool? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you next time I make. Bye.